Hey guys, it's Bella. Welcome back to my channel. We are officially in June, and you know what that means? It is officially time for my May monthly wrap-up. All the books that I read in May and my reviews, ratings, it's time. I had another crazy busy month of reading, so I'm excited to go through all the books that I read this month, and yeah, join me on this journey. Subscribe to my channel if you like book content, reviews, wrap-ups, TBR stuff. And yeah, let's get into it. Starting off May, I read The Obsession, which I decided to give 3 stars. It caught my attention right away. I stayed intrigued the entire time, but the vibe it was giving was like similar to Pretty Little Liars, where it was like kind of so outlandish that like you gotta be a special type of person to get away with it, you know? PLL did a really good job getting away with it. This book, not as much. The ending was actually bananas, and it was so unrealistic. That's why I had a hard time rating it higher than a 3, because it was just so crazy. And then I decided to read Turtles All the Way Down because I know that it just came out into a movie, I believe, a movie or a show, but I actually did not enjoy it. I rated it 2.5 stars. Based on the back of the book and like the description it gives, I was expecting it to be about one thing, and the book ended up being totally different. One plus though is that it mentions Star Wars about 1,000,000 times. Like so many Star Wars references. It literally starts with a Star Wars reference in the first chapter, and I was like, oh, respect. And then I decided to read To All the Boys I've Loved Before, which, if I can like recall, I swear I read them at one point and I had seen the first movie, but I'm in like my reading to movie adaptation era right now, so I really wanted to do To All the Boys I Loved Before. So I gave To All the Boys 4 stars. I gave P.S. I Love You 3 stars, and then 4 stars to Always and Forever Laura Jean. I liked it. I thought it was cute, but the thing that I felt while reading them is I know that they're YA romances, but it almost felt like nothing was happening. Like she was having all this unresolved miscommunication with the male love interest, but like nothing else was really happening. I really loved the first one though. The first one, amazing. So I wanted to read Layla by Colleen Hoover because I just went to the It Ends With Us trailer screening event, and I got to meet Colleen Hoover, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna keep going on your books, girl. I'm gonna keep going. So I read Layla, but unfortunately I didn't love it. I gave it a 3 stars. I didn't love the aspect of a supernatural being taking over the woman's body. Like, I just don't like the supernatural paranormal aspect. I think it's kind of cheesy, so I didn't love it. Then I decided to move on to Serpent and Dove, which is a trilogy series, and it prequels The Scarlet Veil, which is on my TBR. So my mom started Serpent and Dove, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna start it too. Loved Serpent and Dove. I gave it 5 stars. It's about a witch and witch hunters. So of course, you know, her love interest is a witch hunter and she is a witch. And the witches are kind of like banished. You know, there's witch hunters for a reason. They want to get rid of the witches. So you know, there's tension. She has to keep her witchness a secret. I loved it. But then I decided to go into the next one, which is Blood and Honey. And within like 20 chapters, that was out. Like, I DNF'd that book. I also bought the 3rd one. I can't recall the name of it. I will not be continuing that series. My mom did finish it and she gave me like the rundown of everything that happened. But when I started Blood and Honey, I was like, this is a completely different story. Like, the characters had changed. I didn't like the dynamics. It didn't feel like she knew how to write a trilogy. Like, the first one is so good. So I DNF'd Blood and Honey, and I will not be continuing that series, and I'm gonna pretend that it's a 1-book series. Oh, okay, then I read My Dark Vanessa, which I saw someone talk about online, and I was like, oh, interesting, 5 stars. This is a book that is so crazy, and it just took over my life. Like, I read it almost a month ago now. I read it at the very beginning of May, and I still think about this book every day. It has changed me. I don't know what is up with that, but this book is crazy. So it's about a teenager who gets in a relationship with a professor at her school, and it goes back and forth between her as a teenager and her in her adult life, and the way that this relationship has affected her life is so messed up. There's definitely lots of trigger warnings, I would say, for this book. I loved her writing. I thought it was written incredibly. Then Zodiac Academy Restless Stars, the last one came out. Well, it came out in April, but I'm gonna be honest, I love Zodiac Academy. Like, I think it's one of the best book series I've ever read. I just love that universe. But when this book came out, I had no desire to read it. And even when like I was reading it, I read like a few hundred pages and then I gave up for weeks. That's why I finished it in May, because I couldn't do it in April. I just literally couldn't do it. I gave it a 3.5 stars. It was really exciting going into it, but I kept finding myself going days and days without picking it up again, which is not normal for me. And it got to the point where anytime there's any sort of smut in this series, I skip all those pages. Like, we've had like literally 13, 14 books of smut in this series. I'm done with it. Like, I just want to see how the story ends. But after 70%, I was not able to put it down. It was so jam-packed. They end the story really great. And then once I finished the book, I was like, wait, now I'm really sad. So I don't know, take that as you will, I guess, but I did give it 3.5 stars. Then I read Love and Gelato. Again, I'm in my book to movie era and I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. It definitely made me want to go back to Italy. The vibes were just right in that book. It's like the treasure hunting, trying to figure something out trope. It was a really cute story, but also really, really sad. And then another thing that is crazy is this girl, she's from the US, but she didn't know what gelato or prosciutto was. And that like really got me out, because I'm like, prosciutto is literally my favorite food. Like, how do you not know what prosciutto or gelato is? Then I read There's Someone Inside Your House, which I gave 3.5 stars. It was a good, easy read. It was really interesting though, because they ended up revealing who the killer was almost like 30% through the book. And so you knew who the killer was right away, and then the rest of the book was just about like trying to figure out the next move of the killer. And I haven't read like a thriller that's done that, and I'm someone who loves big reveals. I like being excited, anticipating what the big reveal is going to be. So having the big reveal happen right at the beginning, didn't love it. I haven't read a Lucy Score book in a hot minute, so I read By a Thread. Lots of good banter, lots of tension before the smutty smut came along. It was like a grumpy boss trope, but let me be honest with you guys. I'm that type of girl that like once they get in the relationship and the tension's over, like I'm checked out. So for a book like this to still have like 30% left after the couple gets together, I'm done, girl. I'm done. I was so checked out after they got together. I just wanted that book to be over. I have like the worst memory. I'm like going through my list and I'm like, oh my god, I did read that. I read that like a week ago. I read the next 6 books are the Broken Bonds series. Oh my god, was this series so good. I can't believe I forgot I read it. What is going on in my head right now? It was such a unique storyline. It was enemies to lovers, extremely slow burn. Lots of spice, lots of spice. By the 4th book though, it was really repetitive. Like I was kind of getting over it by that point, but I did really enjoy like the world. I love the magic. But one thing, this girl is supposed to be the most powerful girl ever. She has the most insane gifts imaginable, but this girl cannot tie her shoes, she can't cook, she can't clean, she can barely get herself up out of bed, and all these men have to take care of her. Why is our most powerful girl unable to do basic daily tasks? Like that really threw me off. Like she was not a strong female character. Like she was a damsel in distress the entire time, which I didn't love, but still. 5-star series overall. I loved these books. Birthday Girl. This is the craziest book I've ever heard of. It's about a girl, she's like 19, she's dating her boyfriend and they have to move in with the boyfriend's dad to save money. And the girl ends up starting a relationship with the boyfriend's father. Crazy. I gave it 3 stars. I liked how it was written and it was crazy, really, really spicy, but so weird. Like that is just like the craziest idea ever. Like I just can't imagine that. So I gave it 3 stars. Then I started Binding 13. Wow, this has been the craziest book month ever. I started so many fun things. Binding 13, 5 stars. I cried multiple times. It's dual point of view. I was immediately emotionally invested in the characters to the point where like I would read it. I read it over a few days, which I normally don't do. And during the day, I was like thinking about these characters. Like they were living rent free in this brain right here. Left on a huge cliffhanger, which we love. But I will say I was really intimidated by this book because of how long it is. I mean, it's like 900 pages for a romance. I was like, huh? But it was worth it, worth every single page. And then I immediately went into Keeping 13, which I decided to give 4.5 stars, only because it was a lot of repeat information similar to the first one, where they're just going over like the same thing over and over. And I was like, girl, I know this. I know this. But it immediately started off right where Binding 13 left off because the cliffhanger was so crazy. I was really glad it went right into it. It was some of the slowest burn ever and it almost killed me. Like, to a point, it almost kills you. And the last book I read, which I actually finished last night, is the first book of the Inheritance Game series, which I've had on my physical TBR for like 8 months. And I wanted to read it for so long. So I started the first one. I loved it. I gave it 4 stars. One thing that I liked was it was really short chapters. I mean, some of the chapters were like 2 pages. So it felt so fast paced. It felt like no book I've ever read before because of how fast paced it was. It was just like bam, 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 bam. It's treasure hunting aspect, lots of riddles, lots of clues, lots of trying to figure out what the heck is going on. That is all the books that I read. How many was that? That was 24 books in the month of May. Go me! If you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a big ol' thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys next time when I post a new book video. Bye!